Hi everybody. Well, this is a first. I'm doing a tractor. It's not a first for me, but it's a first for a video. All right, what it is that I got sick and tired of the Audis, and I neglected this thing majorly. One of the things that I've been finding out with a lot of these older tractors, I think this is a 1980 or 79, whatever. It's a Ford 1900, and what it is, the steering box broke on it, or the steering column and steering box assembly broke. I kind of fixed it, but it was like a welding up type of thing, and when it completely failed, it completely failed. It turns one way, it turns left, but it doesn't turn right. So, but that's beside the point. What it is I'm gonna make a Kubota one fit. Let me show you what I got. Let me show you what, like on eBay, the specifications are, and other people are doing for specifications for the New Holland 1900 instead of the Ford 1900, which should be the same, but it doesn't appear to be. And let me show you what I picked up for a steering box that we're going to have to adapt to this one. You know what? At least you're going to be able to buy it, and it's relatively inexpensive. All right, let me bring you over to the table. Let me show you what I have there and what our design challenges will be. All right, same thing like on the rally cars. You're trying to make something work that's not supposed to work, but it should work. I hope that's okay. All right, let's run over to the bench. Let me show you the original and the one I'm going to use to replace it with. Here is a Ford steering column, steering box assembly. What we have is a steering box, and we have the base plate molded into the bottom of the steering box. And we have the steering column and the arm, for the steering arm. Our first challenge is we have to make a base plate that fits this. Okay, now the biggest thing is that I measured it with a caliper, and what it is, it's a 1/2 inch. What it is 1/2 inch steel. Now we have the mounts that bolt on for the fuel tank, bolt on to the tractor, and this base plate is the 1/2 inch riser that the other side of the mounts bolt onto. So we have to keep a 1/2 inch of basically material there so the fuel pump or fuel tank mount bolts to it evenly. And what did I get? I have this. I found it in the trash pile. It's what it looks like to me is it came off of a snowplow or it came off of a tractor implement. I do not know. I think it's a snowplow. But what it is, it's 1/2 inch. That's the main thing. It's 1/2 inch steel, pretty tough. I got to cut a couple of pieces out of that, drill some holes so this thing will go on, and I'm going to put it on the tractor, and then we're going to start figuring out all the other little bits and pieces that we have to put in order to weld an initial base plate where it will not interfere, or how should you see, which will make the mounts for the fuel tank bolt up. Everything fits nice, all nice and even. All right, first things first, let me cut some of this stuff up, drill some holes, and we'll meet you back over at the tractor. This plate right now is fairly hot. But you know what? It's our start. This is the start that we're going to go to put that other steering column and steering box on. Let's go over to the bench and let me show you what it is and what I have, because we have to make a tower that fits on here. Let me show you what that is. Let's go over there and I'm going to show you what I'm using and a whole bunch of other stuff. So yeah, let's run over there now. Here's the two steering boxes and columns and base plates that we're going to use. Well, we're replacing. We're replacing this with this. What this is the original Ford 1900 steering box, base plate, steering column. It also has the arm. This right here is from a Kubota. I got it off of eBay. $235 I checked, and it was I think they said L245 to L175. That's what this fits. And I'm sitting there going, okay, so what did my thought processes were? My thought processes were, okay, what was the Ford? I looked it up, 30 horsepower, four-wheel drive, manual steering. Okay. Now, I looked up this is the L245, and I looked at it and it said, well, let me preface this. The Ford said it had a net horsepower of like 28 and a half. Okay. If it has that, I'm not really sure, because if they're saying two figures, I'm not really sure what they're saying. I'm not sure if that's through parasitic loss of the gears or whatever. I don't know. But the information I found on the Kubota, I think it was a 245 or 220, something like that. Whatever the highest thing was, sorry. But what this was like 25 and a half horsepower. So it's really close for the size of the tractor. So I said, okay, I'm not going to run into too many strength problems. Second thing, I needed something that, my steering wheel on this thing was all broken up, and this steering arm I definitely won't fit that. And the biggest thing with everything is if you buy one thing, it's all the accessories that's going to kill you. So this thing came with a brand new steering wheel, and it came with an arm that looked just like this one. Here it is. And I'm looking at it, so I did a measurement. It's about an inch further in, but I got a couple inches on the side where I have no problem with. We can always move it over, but I'm going to try not to. I'm going to try and keep it exactly centered. Also, with this, you have the steering column, you have the base plate, and you have the steering box right here. Well, on this one, steering column, the base plate is in the middle of the steering box, and the steering box goes all the way down to here. If you take the steering box and put it up to this, and look, and say steering box to steering box, it looks almost identical, except the base plate here is here, and the base plate is down here. The funny thing is, on eBay, they had a Ford 1900, or it was a New Holland 1900. I would assume they're the same thing because they say they were made from 1979 to 83. That's when this tractor was made. Now, looking at that, they gave a bolt diagram. It's on my phone. I'm going to put the thing right here. Here is the bolt hole diagram from eBay. What they stated was, across this shaft right here is where it is. It's 60 millimeters. This is supposed to be 60 millimeters. And it goes elongated down over on the side 130 millimeters. Well, I took my tape measure and I measured this right here. The base plate of a Ford 1900 is 160 millimeters, 100 millimeters wider. And I took a look at this side of the base plate, and what is it? It looks like it's 100, I don't know if I have it fully centered, but it looks like it's 110 millimeters this way. So it's 30 millimeters shorter in actual width, or length. I would call it length. The funny thing was, I was looking at the Kubota thing, and that looks awful familiar. And looking at that, I put the tape measures up, and I said, okay, what exactly is center to center hole is it pretty much exactly 60 millimeters. I says, wait a minute, what about this? So I put this hole to hole, and it looks like it's almost exactly 130 millimeters. And then I looked really close at the picture. I'll put it right here. The dowel pins on these, the centering pin dowel pins right here, are centered in between. The Fords are offset. So they probably have this. They just changed the dowel pin arrangement and sell this for the 1900. And I got kind of an interesting thing because, this thing been tossed around for the last couple of months. the black paint is chipping off and it's blue paint underneath it. It's like, wow, isn't that cool? All right, now we have to sit there and go, all right, and we have two little pieces right here that will, I'm probably going to have to put a clamp and weld on there, or just, you know, cut these off and weld them on, just tack them on. It shouldn't be that bad because the seal is up here, seals are down here. There's usually nothing in between, so it shouldn't you know, heat soak a seal and destroy it. So I think I'm pretty good there. And that's down the road. The first thing we have to do is we have to figure out, well, we have to build the plate on this mounting plate that we have to build. We have the mounting plate down like for this on the tractor. We need a mounting plate for this, and then it's actually basically like a shift tower. It's a higher up, you know, version of this mounting plate, but it's basically going to be going at an angle, so to take the forces of it being turned left and right better. Because I just don't want a straight box, because it doesn't look that great, and if I can have it angled off to meet these plates, it gives me a little bit more room and a little bit less metal. But that's kind of what what my plan is. Whether or not it's going to work is another thing, but I think it will. Let me move this over here. What am I going to use for a base plate is this. This right here is very heavy. This is 3/8 inch steel. A buddy of mine had a furnace in his house, and I cut it up and I took it, you know, and I got rid of all the bad stuff, and I kept the really heavy duty steel. I use this for like you know, header flanges and stuff like that, because it's been heat cycled so many times. But it already has a hole here. We had to make a little bit bigger hole, but at least it's a hole, and I'm going to cut the plate out like this, oversize it, and then we're going to bend it down and try and make it fit onto that receiver plate over there. The same height, same angle. I'm gonna try, see what happens. But the first thing is, let me put this down. I gotta make a template with my beer case, my Guinness case. Make a template so I can transfer that. We'll get the initial setup, and then we're gonna drill the holes on it, clean it up, see how much of material that we need to bring it down to here, because we'll just measure it up, and I think we're going to be good to go. That's kind of what my deal is with this. Let's what am I going to do first? Let me first make the template, put it on that, we'll start cutting up, get my stuff on, and clean it all up. Isn't that pretty? All right, well, we have our bottom base mount all done. We have 4 mounting holes, 2 dowel pin holes on the bottom that mimics where that rack, where the steering box went on the tractor. We have the bottom of this. We have 4 bolt holes and 2 dowel pin holes to match the base of that steering box. And as you saw, I used just some cardboard and a ball peen hammer, created it like a punch, you know, and did that. I mean, yeah, I center punched with the steering box to get me my holes where I'm exactly going to bolt in. Then I can figure out with these, I can put them here. And then I did the dowel pins. What did I make the dowel pins out of? This. All these is just a bolt that's only been threaded halfway. What it is that these are what you would call standard M10 bolts. What it is they're 10 millimeters wide, which is the same width of the dowel pin, and they have a pitch of 1.5, which means every turn, every 360-degree rotation, it goes in 1.5 millimeters. The good thing is, this pitch matches every single thing on that tractor. So I think I'm doing pretty well. Because it's a Ford, but it's still a Kubota or something like that tractor. So all of it's basically, you know, metric threads. Now I'm, you know, because I'm doing an awful lot of, you know, if you've seen other stuff, I do an awful lot of Audi. So this is pretty easy. As you can see, this right here, the M10 right here, this came off of an Audi, I think. Yeah, it's either a alternator mount or a AC mount, but it's from an Audi, an old one. But I happen to have a bunch of them, and one good thing is, you know, I had to use cap head screws on this because I could not fit a standard bolt on it. I'm not sure if Kubota used how can I put this, a stud and a really thin nut. I don't know. I never owned a Kubota, so I have no idea. But also, another thing is, if you're going to do the bottom ones with cap heads, get something like this. This right here, even though it's a snap-on one, is just what they call a ball socket, and it goes in it, and you can go to an angle, and you can get it pretty nice inside there. I mucked about with other Allen keys, and you know, and finally found this in the drawer. All right, and also, people sometimes call these things Allen bolts, like I always did. But I think the official name is cap head screws. But you know what? It's 6 of one and half dozen of the other. It doesn't matter, as long as you get the right thing. Now, also onto the collar. Right here, these 2 mounts, the bottom mount supports the top of the instrument cab, and the side mount is just a point where the throttle cable, the throttle control basically bolts into. So what I did, I just made it out of just steel. This is roll cage tubing because I just measured the external diameter of this, went into the box, tried to find it, and this is 1.5 inch roll cage tubing. I just made a big slit, and this is really stiff stuff, but it's not too stiff where actually you can compress it. I can compress it with my hand. It's not that bad. But when you put a bolt in there and compress it, it locks itself to that. Now, the reason why I did this, because remember I originally said I was going to weld onto that, and it wouldn't have been a problem. You know what? If this thing fails, I want to be able to go out and, how can I put this? Just grab a part and throw it on there as fast as I can. I don't want to sit there and go through all the measuring and all this other stuff. So I have an adjustable collar that I can undo 4 bolts, the steering wheel, undo this bolt, slide it off, put the new one on, and there we go. We're off and running. And that's the reason why I did it. And you saw me figure it out in the paper on the calculations. What it is I'm going from the center line out. So if this thing was a 67 millimeters out, this right here is also 67 millimeters out from the center line of the actual steering column. Just to give me as close as I can point to where this is to where that is, you know, in the track, because it's really not that critical, but I'm gonna try. All right, what I want to do now is I'm gonna bolt this up into this, and then we're gonna bring it over to the tractor, bolt everything up, put everything back on, start it, and see how it works. All right, let's go do it. Well, helpful safety tip. If you forget to put oil in it, you're gonna have to pull the fuel tank back out. and try and get yourself some of these. This is what the plug is. It's a 3/8 square drive. Right on the side. I just threw some royal purple in it. It's, yeah. Oh well. More things that you forget. Alright, let's see what we got for turns. So we can center up that arm. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. It should be center. Throw the arm on. Done. It works. I am ecstatic. It's my piece of junk tractor, but I'm making it work. And I hope you can keep your tractors out there. The reason why I did this is I just wanted people to have different alternatives. I do the same thing with all the Audis. If I can get something that works just as good, if not better, and it's replaceable for less money, I can keep it on the road for longer. And if you want to talk about environmentally friendly, like I told my friend in England, the most environmental person in this world was a farmer from the 1800s. He made everything. All right. Well, I hope this helped out a little bit. It works. It friggin' works slick. It'd be the first time I have steering in a year on this tractor. All right. Yeah. The only thing I ran into was the arm that was cut to go onto the steering box. The threads weren't, I mean, not the threads, the splines that the thing threw it onto, it didn't go very far in, so I couldn't use the washer. But you know what? It's on there and it's not coming off. So, but thank you very much. I got to pull this thing out, clean the floor because I did a full service to this. And my shop is an absolute disaster. But I'm pretty happy with it. Thank you very much for showing up. I really appreciate it. Hope you're having a good one. Bye now.